The scale of this operation is almost impossible to comprehend. In just a matter of days, more than 7,000 targets have already been struck across Iran and its military infrastructure. And today, the largest strike wave yet is about to unfold. This is not a slow escalation. This is not a warning. This is overwhelming force applied with relentless precision. And with every passing hour, one side is growing stronger, while the other is being systematically broken down. From the skies above the Persian Gulf to the desert airstrips of the United Arab Emirates, a constant, unbroken cycle of combat operations is now in motion, fast, calculated, and unforgiving. At the center of this operation is one of the most feared attack helicopters in modern warfare, the AH-64 Apache. And here, at a U.S. military base deep in the UAE, there is no pause, no downtime, and no margin for error. On the ground, crews move with urgency, but never panic. Every action is deliberate. Every second matters. Apache helicopters sit on the tarmac, engines cooling from their last mission, while ground crews swarm around them in a perfectly choreographed routine. Fuel lines are connected, weapon systems are opened, ammunition belts are pulled, checked, and replaced. There is no wasted motion. The goal is simple: get these helicopters back into the air as fast as possible. Because out there, over the Strait of Hormuz, the threat is constant. Iranian Shahed drones continue to appear on radar, targeting U.S. positions, allied forces, and commercial oil tankers moving through one of the most critical waterways on Earth. If even one gets through, the consequences could be catastrophic. This base has become the primary launch point for American pilots tasked with stopping those threats before they can strike. And the tempo of operations is relentless. As soon as one helicopter lands, another is already preparing to take off. Some Apaches lift into the sky and head straight toward the patrol zones over the strait. Others fly out to naval vessels positioned in the Gulf, landing directly on the flight decks where they wait, fully armed for the next alert. It's a rotating system designed for one purpose: constant coverage. There is never a moment when the skies are unguarded, never a gap in response time. Because in this kind of conflict, hesitation is the difference between interception and impact. Out at sea, the process is just as intense. Warships sit on high alert, their radar systems scanning the horizon every second. Inside the combat information centers, operators watch their screens closely, tracking every movement in the airspace. When a new contact appears, it is immediately analyzed: speed, direction, altitude. Within seconds, a decision is made, friend or foe. And when it's confirmed hostile, the response begins instantly. There is no delay, no debate. The information is transmitted directly to the Apache crews. Whether they are already airborne or waiting on the deck of a ship, engines cold but ready. And then, everything moves at once. Pilots sprint to their aircraft, rotors begin to spin, engines roar to life. Within minutes, helicopters are lifting off, climbing into the sky, and turning toward the threat. Those already in the air adjust their course, locking onto the incoming drones. This is where training meets reality, where precision matters more than ever. The Apaches close the distance quickly, using onboard sensors to acquire their targets. The pilots don't have the luxury of time. The drones are moving fast, and they are getting closer to their intended targets with every passing second. What happens next is fast, violent, and decisive. Weapons are engaged, the sky lights up, and in a matter of moments, the threat is either eliminated or it isn't. There is no second chance, no reset, only results. And as soon as the engagement ends, the helicopters turn back, some heading to ships for rapid rearming, others flying all the way back to base for a full turnaround. Because this isn't a single mission, it's a continuous cycle. One that doesn't stop, one that doesn't slow down. And as today's largest strike package prepares to launch, one thing is already clear: the intensity of this conflict is only increasing. Out over the Strait of Hormuz, the situation shifts from preparation to pure execution. This is where the operation becomes real, where every system, every crew member, and every decision is tested in seconds. The waters below are some of the most strategically important in the world, carrying a massive portion of global oil traffic, and right now, they have become an active combat zone. Warships cut through the Khalij with full defensive posture, while above them, Apache helicopters maintain a constant patrol pattern, scanning for threats that can appear without warning. There is no predictable timing, no fixed direction. Iranian Shahed drones can emerge suddenly, flying low and fast, attempting to slip through gaps and reach their targets before anyone can react. But the system in place is built specifically to prevent that. It starts with detection. Onboard radar systems aboard naval vessels are the first line of awareness, sweeping the skies every second. Inside the Combat Information Center, operators sit in near silence, eyes locked on glowing screens. Then it happens. A new contact appears, small, fast, moving on a direct path toward the shipping lanes. Within moments, more appear. A pattern forms. This isn't random. This is a coordinated drone wave. Instantly, the classification is made, hostile. And from that second forward, everything accelerates. The data is immediately transmitted to all nearby assets. Apache crews already in the air receive the alert through their onboard systems. Coordinates update in real time. Pilots adjust their headings without hesitation, banking hard toward the incoming threat. On the deck of a nearby warship, another Apache crew hears the call. They don't wait. They move. Within seconds, they are inside the cockpit, flipping switches, initiating startup sequences that they've practiced hundreds of times. The engines ignite. The rotors begin to spin faster and faster until they blur into motion. There is no wasted second. The helicopter lifts off the deck and climbs aggressively into the sky, joining the intercept. Now the race begins. Drones versus helicopters. Speed versus precision. The Apaches push forward, guided by a combination of radar data and their own advanced targeting systems. The pilots scan the horizon through their sensors, searching for visual confirmation. And then they see them, small, fast-moving targets cutting through the airspace. There is no time for hesitation. The pilot aligns the aircraft. The gunner locks onto the first drone. Crosshairs stabilize, distance closes, and then engagement. The 30mm chain gun roars to life, sending a stream of high-explosive rounds tearing through the sky. The recoil vibrates through the helicopter as the rounds close in on the target. One hit is enough. The drone erupts mid-air, fragments scattering and falling into the water below. But there's no pause to observe. More drones are coming. The Apache pivots, tracking the next target. Rockets are deployed. Hydra 70 rounds streak outward, creating a burst pattern designed to intercept fast-moving threats. Another drone is caught in the blast and disappears in a flash. Meanwhile, another Apache engages from a different angle, ensuring that no drone slips through the defensive net. This is coordination at its highest level, multiple aircraft, multiple angles, all converging on the same objective: eliminate every incoming threat before it reaches its target. Below, the ships remain on alert, ready to activate additional defenses if needed. But the goal is to neutralize the drones as far out as possible. Keep the fight in the air, away from the vessels, away from the tankers, away from anything that could become a casualty. Within minutes, the wave is broken. One by one, the drones are destroyed before they can complete their mission. The pilots confirm their kills, reporting back to the ship. Inside the combat center, operators log each engagement, targets eliminated, airspace clearing, immediate threat reduced. But no one relaxes, because in this environment, another wave can come at any moment. Fuel levels drop, ammunition runs low, and just like that, the Apaches break off and begin their return. Some head back toward the ships, descending carefully onto the flight decks where crews are already waiting to reload and refuel them in record time. Others turn toward the desert base in the UAE, flying low and fast to reset for the next sortie. There is no celebration, No pause, just preparation for what comes next. Because the cycle isn't ending, it's repeating over and over again, and with each new engagement, the pressure builds. The response becomes faster, the execution becomes sharper, and as more strike packages are launched and more drones are intercepted, one reality becomes impossible to ignore. This is no longer just defense. This is a sustained, high-intensity air operation where every second counts, and every mistake could change everything. Back at the base in the United Arab Emirates, the intensity doesn't drop. It shifts. What happens here is just as critical as what unfolds in the air, because without this constant ground operation, the entire system would collapse within hours. As the Apaches return from their interception missions, they don't sit idle for long. The moment their wheels touch the tarmac, ground crews are already moving in. There is no delay, no confusion, only a precise, well-rehearsed sequence that turns a battle-worn helicopter into a fully armed combat machine once again. The rotors are still slowing when technicians position ladders, open access panels, and begin their work. Every second saved here means faster response times out there, where the next drone wave could already be forming. Fuel trucks roll in immediately, connecting hoses to refill the tanks that were drained during high-speed intercepts. At the same time, weapons teams move under the stub wings, preparing to reload the helicopter's primary firepower. The empty Hydra 70 rocket pods are either replaced or rapidly refilled, each pod capable of holding 19 unguided rockets. And with up to 4 pods per Apache, that's 76 rockets ready to fire in a single mission. Technicians carefully slide the pods into place, locking them onto the pylons and double-checking every connection. Each rocket is inspected before the pod is sealed, ensuring there are no failures once the helicopter is back in combat. There is no room for error. A single malfunction in the air could mean a missed target, or worse. Beneath the nose of the Apache, another crew focuses on the 30mm chain gun. The ammunition drum is opened and emptied of spent casings, then reloaded with a fresh belt of high-explosive rounds. These rounds are crucial for close-range engagements, especially against fast-moving drones that require precision and rapid fire. The belt is fed carefully into the system, aligned perfectly to prevent jamming. Once sealed, the gun is tested electronically to confirm readiness. Nearby, another team is preparing the AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, some of the most lethal weapons in the Apache's arsenal. Designed for precision strikes against armored targets and fortified positions, these laser-guided missiles are mounted onto rail launchers attached to the helicopter's wings. One by one, the Hellfires are lifted, aligned, and slid onto the rails. Electrical connectors are attached, linking the missiles to the Apache's targeting system. Each connection is checked twice, then again, because once that helicopter is airborne, there is no fixing mistakes. Everything must work perfectly the first time. Around the aircraft, mechanics continue their inspections. Hydraulic systems, flight controls, engine performance, avionics, targeting sensors. Every component is tested against strict checklists. It's not just about rearming, it's about ensuring that the helicopter can survive and perform in one of the most demanding combat environments in the world. And this entire process happens incredibly fast. What would normally take hours is compressed into a fraction of that time. Crews move with urgency but never rush blindly. They know exactly what they're doing, and they do it with precision. Because above them, the mission is still ongoing. Ships are still detecting threats, pilots are still engaging targets, and more helicopters will be needed, again and again. As one Apache is being rearmed, another is already lifting off. Engines roaring, rotors slicing through the desert air. It climbs and disappears toward the Strait of Hormuz, taking its place in the continuous rotation. There is no clear beginning or end to this operation, only a constant loop. Land, reload, relaunch, repeat. Every helicopter is a moving part in a much larger machine, one designed to maintain absolute pressure and total coverage. Meanwhile, communication never stops. Updates flow between the base, the ships, and the aircraft in real time. Intelligence is shared, targets are tracked, patterns are analyzed. If a new wave of drones is detected, the response is already forming before the first one is even within range. This level of coordination is what keeps the operation ahead of the threat. It's what turns reaction into anticipation, and as the sun beats down on the desert base, the pace only increases. More helicopters cycle through, more weapons are loaded, more missions are launched, because the reality is simple. This isn't a one-time strike. This is sustained warfare, a continuous high-speed operation where the margin for error is zero and the demand never stops. And as long as the threat remains in the skies over the strait, this ground operation will keep running, relentless, precise, and absolutely essential to everything happening above. But keeping this operation running at full intensity requires more than just speed on the ground. It demands a constant flow of reinforcements, equipment, and precision logistics working perfectly behind the scenes. Not far from the main base on a remote desert airstrip, that hidden backbone of the mission is on full display. A massive military cargo aircraft descends from the sky, the Boeing C-17 Globemaster III, touching down in a cloud of dust and heat. Its arrival is not symbolic. It's essential, because in a conflict moving this fast, every loss, every mechanical issue, every gap in coverage must be replaced immediately. There is no waiting, no delays. What arrives on this aircraft will go straight into the fight. As the rear ramp lowers, crews move in without hesitation. Inside the cargo bay sits another AH-64 Apache, partially disassembled for transport, secured tightly for the long journey. Around it are crates and containers packed with critical components: rotor blades, tail assemblies, avionics panels, weapon pylons, and fresh supplies of rockets and missiles. Everything needed to rebuild and redeploy this helicopter has arrived in one coordinated delivery. And now, the clock starts ticking. The unloading begins immediately. First, the support equipment is brought out, large crates carefully lowered and moved onto the tarmac using carts and manual handling. Each container is labeled, organized, and quickly transferred to staging positions. Then comes the aircraft itself. Without its rotor blades and with its landing gear unlocked, the Apache must be carefully guided out of the cargo bay. A team surrounds it, coordinating every movement. Slowly, deliberately, they roll the helicopter down the ramp. There is no room for mistakes here. One wrong angle, one sudden shift, and critical systems could be damaged before the aircraft even enters service. Once on the ground, the Apache is connected to a tow vehicle, and the entire convoy begins moving across the airstrip toward the assembly zone. The desert heat, the noise, the urgency, none of it slows the process, because everyone involved understands what's at stake. This helicopter isn't just a replacement. It's another link in the chain of constant air coverage over the Strait of Hormuz. Without it, the rotation weakens, and in this kind of operation, even a small gap can become a vulnerability. At the assembly area, mechanics are already waiting. The moment the helicopter arrives, they begin the reconstruction process. Rotor blades are lifted into position and secured with precision. The tail rotor is mounted and connected to the drive system. Stub wings are bolted back onto the fuselage, followed by the installation of weapons pylons. Avionics systems are reconnected, panels sealed, and diagnostic checks initiated. Every step follows a strict sequence designed to bring the helicopter from transport condition to combat-ready status as quickly as possible. Then comes the rearming. Fresh Hydra rocket pods are loaded. Hellfire missiles are mounted onto their rails. The 30mm ammunition drum is filled. Fuel systems are checked and topped off. But even at this stage, the work isn't done. The helicopter must pass a full systems inspection: hydraulics, electrical systems, targeting sensors, flight controls, engine performance. Every component is tested under operational conditions, because once this aircraft leaves the ground, it will go straight into an active combat zone. There is no margin for mechanical failure. And all of this happens under pressure, because while this Apache is being assembled, the fight is still ongoing. Drones are still being launched. Patrols are still in the air. Interceptions are still happening in real time. This isn't preparation for a future mission. This is reinforcement for a battle already in progress. Finally, the moment comes. The checks are complete. The systems are green. The pilot climbs into the cockpit, runs through the startup sequence, and within minutes, the rotors begin to spin. Dust kicks up around the aircraft as it lifts off for the first time since arriving. No ceremony, no delay. It climbs into the sky and turns toward the strait, joining the same relentless cycle as every other Apache in the operation. Because in this conflict, logistics is not just support, it is survival. The ability to replace, rebuild, and redeploy at this speed is what keeps the entire system functioning. It's what ensures that no matter how intense the operation becomes, there are always more aircraft ready to take their place in the sky. And as long as those supply lines remain active, the pressure never lets up. Back over the Strait of Hormuz, the operation reaches its most critical phase: sustained, uninterrupted engagement. The skies are no longer just a patrol zone. They have become an active battle space where detection, response, and interception happen in rapid succession, often overlapping with one another. Onboard radar systems aboard naval vessels continue to sweep the horizon, identifying new contacts as soon as they appear. Each blip on the screen represents a potential threat, and each threat triggers an immediate chain of communication. Inside the combat information centers, operators track, classify, and relay targets with precision. There is no confusion, no hesitation, only a constant flow of information moving between ships, aircraft, and command units. At this stage, the Apache helicopters are fully integrated into the defensive network. Some are already airborne, maintaining wide patrol patterns that cover key approach vectors. Others remain on naval decks, engines idling, rotors ready to spin at a moment's notice. The system is designed for speed. When a new wave of drones is detected, the response is nearly instantaneous. Pilots receive coordinates, adjust their flight paths, and move into intercept positions without delay. Those on standby launch within minutes, climbing rapidly to join the formation already in the air. And then the cycle repeats. Radar detects incoming drones. Data is transmitted. Pilots engage. Weapons are deployed. Targets are intercepted and destroyed before reaching their intended objectives. Each engagement follows the same pattern, but no two moments are exactly alike. Wind conditions shift, drone formations vary, distances change, yet the outcome remains consistent: interception before impact. The Apaches use a combination of sensors, onboard targeting systems, and coordinated communication with naval assets to maintain situational awareness at all times. This allows them to track multiple threats simultaneously and prioritize engagements based on proximity and risk level. After each successful interception, the helicopters reposition. Some return to ships for rapid refueling and rearming, landing on flight decks that are already prepared for their arrival. Ground and deck crews move immediately, reconnecting fuel lines, replacing ammunition, and preparing the aircraft for its next launch. Others break away and head back toward the mainland base, where a full maintenance cycle awaits them. There, the process is more extensive but equally efficient. Complete inspections, systems diagnostics, weapon reloads, and final checks before redeployment. This constant rotation is what sustains the operation. Helicopters are never idle for long. As soon as one mission ends, another begins. The entire system is built around continuity, ensuring that at no point is the airspace left uncovered. Every aircraft plays a role in maintaining that coverage, whether it's in the air engaging targets, on a ship waiting for orders, or on the ground being prepared for its next sortie. And as the day progresses, the tempo does not slow. If anything, it intensifies. More drones appear, more intercepts are required, more helicopters cycle through the system. The strain on personnel is significant, but the structure in place is designed to handle it. Crews rotate, equipment is maintained, and communication remains constant. The mission continues without interruption. In the end, what emerges is not just a series of individual engagements, but a fully coordinated, high-speed operational network, one that blends air power, naval defense, logistics, and intelligence into a single continuous loop. Detection leads to response, response leads to engagement, engagement leads to reset, and reset feeds back into readiness for the next threat. It is a cycle that never truly stops, and as long as the drones continue to come, the helicopters will continue to launch, intercept, and return again and again, maintaining control of the skies over one of the most critical waterways in the world.